Good morning and welcome to everybody. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. Special warm welcome to Divine Vintage and Antiques, first time joining us live, and our newest Extra Scoop member. It is lovely to see you here. Hello, Gina. Hello, Ray. Hello, Sue. Hello, everybody. I hope you're having a wonderful week. It is hard to believe that we are already in November. Temperatures are definitely cooling down even more around here. Hello, Purple Rain. I hope you're doing great. Today, we have an extra special topic by request. We are covering amber and amber jewelry. And this is something that I've chosen to take on because a couple of you have asked me to do so. I am decked out in amber today. So I've got some egg yolk butterscotch amber on my ears. I've got a variety on this brooch here and a necklace too. Hello, Delia. Hello, everybody. I have pinned a comment for the first time ever. I've never pinned a comment before, but if you enter #win all caps, you will be entered into a draw to win an exclusive Sundae Brunch mug. These are fantastic 20-ounce mugs. They are great for water or coffee, and if you win, then I will ship this to you completely free of charge. So please do enter. Hello, Charlene. I hope everyone is having the best day. Hey, Bruce, great to see you too. So when we think about amber jewelry, we think about a lot of different colors, a lot of different varieties, and there's a ton of pretenders out there today. So what I'm going to share with you is some identification tips, as well as some information about what amber really is, how it's formed, and hopefully everybody leaves with a couple more tools in their toolkits today. This is something that I took on as part of my research because I do love amber and I have a few pieces in my collection. Some of them are on me right now, but I didn't know nearly as much about amber as I do now before I started to research this a couple months ago. So I hope you will all join me. As always, these Sunday brunches, the goals are really to share research as we go on our jewelry journeys together. So hopefully this will be a lot of fun and interesting to everyone. First up, I do want to let everybody know that I do have an Extra Scoop Club, and this is something that you can join either through YouTube or Patreon. And if you choose to, what this gives you is a couple of extra perks on Patreon. You can also get some identification support. On YouTube, you can join with the little join button. And we do have an Extra Scoop members only video where we do an antique roadshow style show and tell where you send me pictures in advance. I research the pieces for you, and then I give you an idea of what they're going for on the retail market. It is a lot of fun. So please do think about joining. Your support goes towards some of the giveaways that we do on the channel, and I will eventually be upgrading my equipment as well. All right, without further ado, we are going to pop into amber. Now, amber is an organic fossilized tree resin that was formed 50 million years ago to 320 million years ago. There are younger ambers as well, and most people agree that amber needs to be at least 2 million, if not 4 million years old to count as amber. If it's younger than that, it is another name, which is copal, and we will be talking about that very soon. We've got the chemical composition here too. Amber is not a mineral, it is organic. So really it just has some carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen in it. Here is a little picture of pine resin. And I wanted to show this to you so that we could talk a little bit about what resin is in its natural form when it comes from a tree. So resin is a very sticky substance that a tree will secrete to protect itself from insects or any other damage that might have happened. So it's not at all the same as tree sap. It is really something that it creates to protect itself. So you may be asking yourself, why did all of these trees start to create a lot of resin millions and millions of years ago? And there is a good reason for that. The temperature of the earth began to heat up, and with that heat, more and more insects started to come around the trees and attack them. And so really it was a defense mechanism by the trees. And so what happened is that they secreted a lot of resin, and in turn, these insects were attracted to it because it's a sweet, sticky substance, and then they would get trapped inside. And in some cases, some larger creatures were encased in resin too. My theory, and a lot of other scientists' theories, and this is something that I've been thinking about a lot, is that usually the larger animals didn't necessarily get trapped in the resin. It's more that they perished and happened to be covered in resin, because resin itself, while quite sticky and powerful, probably isn't enough to keep a pretty big lizard or a gecko in there. Hello, Lexi. Hello, everybody. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Pandora. It's great to see everyone. So when we think about amber, there is Baltic amber that is almost synonymous with amber. And 90% of the world's Baltic amber supply comes from Kaliningrad Oblast in Russia. So we're going to talk about where amber comes from, what types of amber there is. But amber is essentially mined or harvested in two ways. One is through pits, and the other is via the sea. And so with the pits, how this is done is that throughout the Baltic area, there were a lot of coniferous forests. And so with that heating period where the trees were secreting all of that resin way back 55 million years ago, and for quite some time, different insects and things were getting trapped, and there were layers and layers that were being added on. And so over time, this would all kind of lie on the ground, it would fall off, the trees would decompose, and it would create a lot of layers. And eventually, there was an ice age, and then a ton of pressure as these different layers started to mount upon each other. And it was through that pressure that amber really was created. Now, amber is fossilized, and what's important about that is that fossils are very, very strong, and that durability is part of what makes amber special and a little bit more precious than something like copal, because a fossilized piece of amber is going to be much more durable than a piece of copal, which is not actually fossilized. Now, back to the pit. So this can be excavated by digging. And what is under the water, and this is really fascinating as well, especially in the Baltic Sea, is a lot of sea amber. And this is because there didn't used to be a Baltic Sea where one lies today. That sea is actually extremely young. It's only about 15,000 years old. And it occurred after the last ice age when the icebergs came and melted, and it really created the sea there. So amber is quite lightweight and it floats, and it can be either excavated, or sometimes it simply floats to the top. And what you see in the bottom right image is some raw Baltic amber that is kind of washed up on the beaches. Fascinating. Now, there are other sources of amber that we definitely need to be talking about too. So the Baltic area isn't the only area where amber is produced. The heating and cooling of the earth is not a new phenomena. It has changed the ecosystems, and of course there were trees throughout the world. So this phenomena repeated itself in a few other areas too. And the substance of the resin, depending on the tree, really helps determine some of the color details, what is entrapped in it. And so let's take a look at where else amber can be found. We have Burmese amber. Now, this was formed in the Cretaceous period, and that was about 66 to 145 million years ago. And Burmese amber is really well known for having some of the insects that you see caught in it, because there's quite a diverse ecosystem there. Dominican Republic amber was formed 15 to 40 million years ago and is almost always transparent. And what I've included in the bottom left is a gecko that is trapped in some amber there. And this is pretty special. It is extremely rare to find this, and it is housed in the Amber Museum in the Dominican. And on the right side, you see blue amber. And we will talk about the rarity of the different colors, but blue is one of the rarest colors and very, very rarely found in nature. Next, we have Mexican amber. So Mexican amber was formed 15 to 23 million years ago and has the same properties. Now, all colors can come in all of these regions, but it has been said that sometimes the brighter red colors are found more in the Burmese amber and in Mexican amber as well, which is really interesting to know. Now, amber has properties as do other gemstones. There's been a Mohs hardness that's been assigned to it, and it is soft because it is a natural substance. It is 2 to 2.5 on the Mohs hardness scale. So this means that it is prone to being broken if you were to try to smash it. You can actually even melt it because it is heat sensitive. You can engrave it, and you can do all sorts of things with it. You can facet it, but it is tricky. We'll talk about that very, very soon too. Now, in terms of metaphysical properties, amber is meant to encourage creative self-expression and the purification of one's thoughts, and supports balance and stability. So I can't help but think that this is something that I should probably be wearing a little bit more often. I definitely appreciate having a little extra balance in my life. Hello, Charlene. Hello, Polly. Hello, everybody. Please make sure you do enter #win per the pinned comment so that you get a chance to win a mug. Now, next up, we are going to talk about quality factors of amber, because I think all of us, jewelry aficionados, lovers, collectors, dealers, always wonder, what makes a piece of amber good quality or not so good quality? So we are going to dig into that right now. We're going to start with the 3 most common characteristics: color, translucency, and inclusions. So when we think about amber, we often think about all of the different colors that we see on the market, and it ranges from yellow to reds to cognacs and ambers. There's black, there's white, there's green, there's blue. What is the order of priority in which it is found in terms of rarity, and what is most valuable? So let's dive into that right now. In terms of typical colors that are found, yellow is hands down the most found color of amber. 70% of amber that is found is indeed yellow, one shade or another, and this can be opaque to translucent, but it is yellow. 15% is black, and I think a lot of us don't even think about black amber. Yes, sometimes we see some black details in our amber, especially in Baltic amber, but it's not necessarily something that's very sought after. Cognac, or that wonderful true amber color, kind of ranges in that brown-yellow family, heated up to almost an orange or caramel, makes up 15%, and then red makes up just 0.5%. So in terms of rarity, red is the rarest on this scale. Cognac is the second rarest. Black is not necessarily sought after, but quite rare. And then yellow makes up the majority. That said, red is rarely found in nature, so this is really important to keep in mind if you are sourcing jewelry for yourself, because heat treatments can indeed change the color of amber and turn something from yellow to red. So it's important to keep that in mind when you're shopping and when you're thinking about price. Now, the other colors that are found are white, green, and blue, and for each of these, only 1 to 2% are found in nature. White is considered almost royal amber, and it's very rarely found in just a pure white. Often it's with other colors, blues, greens, sometimes a little hint of yellow or gray as well. Green, true green amber, is very, very rare to find in nature and usually has a yellow tinge to it as well. And then that blue, which is only found in the Dominican, is quite rare. So you can dye amber, and it's important to note that, because everybody knows, or I think we all learned this in school, that when you add blue with yellow, you get green. So if yellow is the most common and you can add blue to it, you can get green. That is not actually the most typical way of achieving the green color. You can heat yellow to reach all sorts of different colors, and as amber is heated and ages, it actually becomes darker and takes on a richer color as well. So it's really, really fascinating to see. Now, the clarity or translucency are 2 things that we need to think about as well. So There is a lot of desire for translucent amber that has something trapped inside, and we will absolutely talk about these inclusions. And the translucency really becomes the most important if that is what you are looking for in the jewelry that you are buying. Now, what can be found inside ranges from plants to insects. You can even find little bits of air or gas or even water that's been trapped inside. And it's typically air or water that forms those sun spangles or star spangles. We will talk a little bit about that shortly too. Now, on the far left, we have some egg yolk butterscotch amber, and this has been polished into 3 cabochons. We also have a chunk of raw amber in that cognac color, and this is not very translucent, but still quite desirable. Below that, and kind of in the middle of your screen, we see an example where there's not a lot of organic material, but that is actually air and sun spangles, which suggests that it has been heat treated in order to improve the clarity and color. And on the furthest side, we do have an insect that is trapped inside. Now, in terms of what is desirable, the most desirable inclusions are generally the insects. And even though we don't necessarily see a lot of the spiders in amber available online, spiders, because they are the most common insect species, are what is most commonly found, especially in the deposits that are being excavated in the Burmese amber region, as well as in the Dominican and Mexican region as well. Mosquitoes are what we all think about, and there's a very good reason. This has been implanted into our memories thanks to Jurassic Park. So if you have seen this movie and know the story, the premise is that scientists extracted DNA from a mosquito and were able to use this to create dinosaurs. What is really fascinating about that story is that it is a misnomer. The mosquito that is inside this piece of amber right here, it has been proven to be an elephant mosquito, which is one of the very few types that actually do not suck blood. So the entire premise of the movie is a little bit off base, but still, when we think about things that are stuck inside of amber, that is usually where our heads go first. It's that mosquito. Now, plants are less commonly found, and flowers, buds as well. And every so often, people who are mining amber manage to find some that even has a little bit of perhaps fur from mammals that were wandering around, and even feathers. And it was in fact feathers from amber that was able to convince the research community looking at dinosaurs and whether they actually had feathers and could have flown, that they did in fact have feathers back millions and millions of years ago. So amber is considered quite important, not only to the jewelry community, but also to the scientific community, because it has really frozen in time all sorts of things that were happening on Earth, which helps us uncover a little bit about our history. Now, this is a very, very rare specimen, and this is from the Poland Gdańsk Amber Museum. And what you see here is a lizard that is caught in amber. And again, it is likely that this lizard perished and just amber covered him over time. Again, these trees were trying to protect themselves as they secreted resin. So it's very fascinating to take a look at that. And this really does tell us a little bit about the past. Now, amber treatments are the next thing that we need to go into, because treatments for amber can shift their value a little bit and can also really change the way that they look and their appearance. So we are going to start off by talking about modifications, and the first one that we're going to talk about is heat treatment. So when air or water is trapped inside amber, and remember, amber is layers and layers and layers of resin that has been deposited on top of each other. So sometimes there's spaces, and that space can include air. It can result in these spangles. And I personally think that spangles are incredibly attractive in jewelry. I like to see just a few, not a ton. Usually, the more spangles you see, if it looks like they're just all kind of in there and bunched up and very busy, that is an indicator of heat treatment. And I wanted to zoom in really close for you and show you these 2 examples that come from the GIA to show us different sun spangles. And these sun spangles typically look like sort of a flat disc, and if you move the piece of amber around, it's quite transparent at certain angles, and then suddenly you see it and you see the flash. And there is also something that is known as star spangles, where instead of just seeing it flat, it actually radiates out from the center, a little bit more like the example that we see on the right of this screen. Now, heat treatments are not necessarily frowned upon by the amber community. This is something that is used by many, many suppliers to help adjust the color as well as the clarity of their pieces, usually by heating, and there's some other pressure treatments that can be applied as well. You can compress some of that air out. You can really solidify the piece, so it does help with durability, and it can change or even improve the color by removing some of the impurities, because things like dirt and organic substances that are not attractive can be caught in there as well. I want to show you an example of a bracelet, and this is one at the top left corner. You can see that star spangle effect. And if you look into this, it seems to have a variety of organic materials as well as some of those sort of sun spangles and star spangles. And the UV light can be incredibly helpful to help us understand whether or not something has been heat treated. So in the next photo right here, you can see that this bracelet takes on a sort of luminescent blue glow, and that is a little bit unusual because usually amber is going to glow yellow or green with UV light, and we'll talk about that later. But in this case, because it's been heat treated and most likely baked in order to give it a uniform color to improve it and also improve some of the inclusions, it does take on a very different look to it. Now, reconstituted amber is something else that we need to chat about. Reconstituted amber is still amber, but what it is amber that is made up of many, many tiny little amber shards and granules that are melted down and put back together to form a solid piece of amber. Remember, amber is resin, so it can be melted, and once it's melted and brought up to temperature, it can be formed really into any shape at all that you want. Now, here is two items that are reconstituted amber. We have a skull on the right, and you can see all of the spangles. And what is very common is that when amber is reconstituted, usually this lends itself to creating very large pieces. Usually it would be very difficult and rare to find a piece of amber as large as this. It's about the size of my fist. And so this is a reconstituted piece. Therefore, size and embellishments like carving tied with those sun spangles, and you can see how busy they are inside, usually are a pretty good indicator that you have some reconstituted amber. On the left side, we have some reconstituted amber in the form of beads, and what you're looking for here is that mosaic effect. So it isn't sort of a natural occurrence, and we're going to take a look at some examples. Hopefully this isn't too pale on your screens and you're able to see it, but it's almost like there's pieces of amber that are a little bit larger and smaller. This is an older example of a reconstituted piece. As technology has improved, the granules that are used to reconstitute amber have gotten smaller and smaller, so it's harder and harder to detect, of course, by both tools and the human eye. But this is one way of looking for it. And then this also shows you some in a translucent example where you can see that these pieces sometimes overlap each other. So that is like a telltale thumbprint. If you get in really, really close, usually you have to use a microscope, something a little bit stronger than a loupe, so that you can see how this reconstituted amber is kind of sitting together to form that new piece of amber. And then finally, what is also seen sometimes is these lines, and sometimes they're almost reddish. And this is caused by that melting and cooling process when reconstituting the amber. So this really is like a thumbprint that allows you to see what has gone on. Bonded amber is the next one that we're going to talk about. And so bonded amber is another term to say like a doublet or a triplet. So just like we might do with an opal, where we will back it with something in order to bring out the vibrancy of color, sometimes amber is backed to shift the color as well. So We talked about heating being one of the ways to achieve that delightful green amber color that is so sought after. The other way of achieving this is by backing it. And here is an example of a ring. This is a doublet ring, and what they've done is they've backed it in the back with a dark piece of shale, and on top of that there is a little bit of blue, and this translates to a green cabochon on the ring. So really fascinating to see all of the different treatments that are done. Of course, there are many more, but next we are going to talk about the pretenders, because I think the pretenders are just as interesting as amber. Now, amber has been used and revered in perfumes and has been used as teething tools for centuries. It is something that has been put into the burial chambers of the Egyptian pharaohs. It has also been something that's been passed down and is meant to be truly a protective stone. But copal is also viewed in the same way. Now, copal is much younger, as we've talked about. Organic copal tree resin formed, they say, 40,000 to 5 million years ago. And again, most people agree that in order for something to be amber, it needs to be at least 4 million years old. Some people say 2. Copal generally is a much lighter color, and you can still see a lot of the same factors in it as you would with amber. So for example, you may see inclusions that are organic. They could be plant-based, they could be insects. So really, this is something that is very difficult to detect, but it is a softer substance, and we will talk about some tips and tricks so that you know how to test and try to detect for copal as well. I see a question from Denim to Diamonds. Is price and desirability affected by the reconstitution? Yes and no. So here's the thing. If you had a piece of amber that was this big, and it was not reconstituted, then absolutely it is going to be an extremely valuable chunk of amber. If it's been reconstituted, it is still going to be beautiful, but it does not have that same value. However, to the end buyer, they may or may not care about that piece. They may simply want to have a beautiful object in their home, or they may have other reasons to make that concession. I will say that there's a debate in the metaphysical gemstone community about, can amber lose some of its properties if it's been reconstituted? That is not a question I am here to answer. Everyone can answer it for themselves. And in terms of treatments, heat treatments can truly improve the look of amber and can make an amber necklace that might have been thousands of dollars much more affordable and something that someone could wear. The reconstitution, it is less durable. However, it is likely not going to, fall apart in your hands. There are some things you need to do to take care of your amber that we will talk about as well. Now, bakelite is our next pretender, and bakelite, and I'm going to try to say this and hopefully I can do it and you can all laugh at me if I don't, is polyoxybenzyl methylene glycolin hydride. I did it. And this is really a man-made substance done by thermosetting phenol formaldehyde resin. And so it looks so much like amber, but it is extremely static and it almost has a flat look to it. Bakelite is also significantly heavier than amber is going to be. Amber in the hand is very lightweight, and that is, a very simple test that you can do if you're comparing it to bakelite or glass, but so is copal. And that's where we're going to talk about some of those differences. But bakelite, there's a few things that you can look for. Usually it is not going to have any spangles or inclusions whatsoever. They will be very, very uniform beads, if it's beads, or a uniform piece, unless it, of course, it has those swirls that can be added in terms of coloring them. And we'll talk about some ways to test in just a moment. The last pretender that we want to chat about is glass. So amber-colored glass has been popular for centuries and was particularly popular in the Victorian period. Through the mid-century, you see it in everything from glassware, tableware, jewelry as well. And so amber glass, Most of us know the difference between glass and natural substances. There is the coolness to the touch that glass will have. Amber will generally heat up with your body temperature and stay there, whereas glass cools down pretty quickly. It'll heat up with your body temperature too, but it also has kind of a harder feel to it. Some people say, go ahead, just grab a pin, see if you can scratch it. Generally, your glass is going to be harder than your amber, so I would prefer that you not scratch something that you think might be amber, but that's just me. But it's important to keep your eye out because, especially in jewelry listings, sometimes things are listed as amber. Then you have to read through the details to understand it's actually amber glass, amber bakelite, something else, gallolith. It can be all sorts of different things. So you may be wondering, can we look at some historical examples? Can we look at some jewelry? Yes, we can. We are going to start by taking a look at a beautiful amber trinket box. And this is from around 1880. And you can see all those glorious colors in it. This is something that was said to have been gifted by Queen Victoria, and it was a large piece of amber and considered quite valuable even back when it was gifted, and it's really quite beautiful. Now, the Victorians did love their amber. This amber pipe was created around the time of Queen Victoria's Jubilees, and it has an amber crown as well as a mouthpiece on it, which is quite interesting details. And it's interesting that it would be used like this for a pipe because amber is heat sensitive. They probably weren't thinking much about that. It was likely more decorative than not, especially to be in this condition still today. And perhaps you have heard about the Amber Room. Now in Russia, in Catherine's palace, there is an incredible room of amber. And this amber room has quite an incredible story. So it was initially created in Poland by Frederick I, and this was in 1701. He loved amber, and amber was plentiful, so he created panels, the panels on the walls that you see, and he enjoyed them for 16 years, and then in 1716, he gifted them to Tsar Peter I of Russia. The Russians also loved amber. They were excited to receive this gift. It was initially put into St. Petersburg Castle, and then it was moved into Catherine's Castle, and there it stayed until the wartime. And then in 1917, with the war, it was disassembled. Some say that they didn't know where all the pieces went. There's all sorts of stories about, was it taken apart to save it from Nazis? Was it stolen by the Nazis? Well, a lot of the pieces were found, and from 1979 to 2003, it was very carefully put back together to the best of their ability. And that's why there is a postage stamp dated 2004 in Russia to celebrate this amazing room that was put back together. And it is said to be worth up to $500 million just for the amber, never mind the workmanship of what is in there. And we're talking about tons and tons of amber. So really quite an incredible use. And I can't help but wonder how wonderful it would be to, go in there. It's like a natural environment inside your house. Here's a close-up of some of the panels and the inlay work. Now, this would not count as reconstituted amber because it's inlaid. So do keep that in mind. If you're looking at an inlaid piece, that is different than one that is reconstituted. Here we also have an amber case and mirror presented to Peter the Great, again in 1716. So alongside with all of those panels, it's really, really quite special. Sue, I see your question, who made it? Many artisans over many years. So it was a labor of love for them. And I would be happy to post some links to the story of the Amber Room, because I really do think that it's quite an incredible story. So I'll post that in the body of this live video. If you go into the description after we're done, I'll add some links for everybody. Now we're going to look at a bit of jewelry. And of course, with the Baltic area being so amber rich, we are going to take a look at quite a few pieces from Scandinavia. First, we have this beautiful brooch from Denmark, and this is by Nils Erik. And we have a piece of natural amber that is still quite rough, not overly polished, and you can really see that it's got this a little bit of translucency to it, but it also has a little bit of life. And Baltic amber is known to have many, many different textures. It can be foamy, frothy, translucent, soapy. There's so many different words that are used, and I think that really tells the tale well. Here we have an arts and crafts brooch from Scandinavia around 1900 as well. And again, you can see the variety. And you've got almost that beautiful butterscotch in the bottom drops, and then the cognac almost verging into cherry in the top portion. We've got some carved amber from China, circa 1880. And again, this is put into a brooch, and this is where they tend to gravitate towards the warmer, redder colors, and we can see an example here as well. We've got a Skonverk arts and crafts brooch, circa 1900, and this is a very, very large brooch. It's about 6 inches long, and these bottom butterscotch pieces are quite large. You've got a little bit of green onyx on there as well, and you can see that sort of arts and craft verging on the Art Nouveau waves in the top design. They're really beautiful pieces. We've got some Georg Jensen as well. So circa 1910, this is a very early piece from him, and it ties together a little bit of those natural motifs. You've got vines and almost like lily pads and plant elements to it. And of course, a beautiful piece of butterscotch amber smack in the middle in all of its glory. This is a piece that you may have seen on me. I've got the brooch on right now, and it comes with earrings as well as a brooch. It's really very beautiful, and you've got 4 varieties, colors of amber in the brooch and 3 in the earrings. So you've got a little bit of that coveted cherry, you've got the butterscotch and egg yolk as well. These egg yolk butterscotch amber sets, this is one of my favorite finds. This one came from Ruby Lane, and it is circa 1950. It came in the original box, and what I love about it is that it does have some of that telltale special white that you very rarely see, as well as very, very vibrant yellow and white as well. And I'm going to show you this for size. So size of amber has become harder and harder to find in natural pieces. This one's a little bit large, and it matches with these earrings that I have on as well. So this is kind of one of my personal favorites that I have too. And then last but not least, in terms of jewelry that we're going to take a look at right now, we've got some faceted amber. Now, amber melts under heat, and generally when you facet something, it creates friction, and that is heat, and that can really be a difficult process, which is why not a lot of faceted amber is found. In fact, you often see the bakelite pretenders that look just like this necklace. But I wanted to give you a quick blacklight test to show you what amber should look like under blacklight, especially if it is faceted, and it should take on that yellow-green sort of UV reaction to it, which is exactly what you can see here. So wanted to share that. Polly, thank you so much. I appreciate your kindness. Now, we are going to talk about how to test our amber, because that becomes all important, knowing that there is a pretender like copal. It is so very, very close. It's almost like the younger sister of amber. And then, of course, different substances too. So let's take a look at the most common tests, and we will start with the least invasive and one of my favorites. So the UV light test. Amber will glow yellow-green. Yes, Bruce, amber should glow. Now, copal will not glow. Unless it is, perhaps it has like some sort of inclusion in it that may glow, but it will not glow in the same way. Whereas amber will take on like a glow to it. It's almost ethereal, like we saw on that last necklace. Now, with the UV test, you do have to keep in mind that if you are testing something that is also glass, it could have uranium or cadmium in it, which means that it may glow as well. So this is one of the best ways. I don't know if this is going to show up well, but let's see if it does. I'm not sure if you can see, probably blown out to heck, but this is not going to work so well. It should glow like in that last picture that I showed you. And This piece will too. Reconstituted pieces will also glow, but you may be able to see some differences in them, and especially with the older reconstituted pieces where they were using larger fragments as they heated them, you may be able to see some delineation as well. Lily, that would be wild to have a disco light in that in that amber room in Russia. Now, the next, and this is an invasive test, is the acetone test. Amber should not become tacky if you do this test, and the acetone should not take on any color. The way you do this, and acetone is also a nail polish remover in many cases, although you can get it that's acetone free, so make sure you get acetone if you want to do this test. You put small drop for 3 seconds and just 3 seconds on the piece and then remove it. And if it's amber, it should not have any damage. It should not be tacky or sticky, and it shouldn't have like emitted any kind of color. If it is other substances, for example, if it was bakelite, because bakelite does get eaten away by acetone, you will see some color come off, and it can impact copal because copal is not fossilized. So it is like on the weaker side. So that is definitely a test you could do, but it is invasive and it may damage your piece as well. Thank you so much, Purple Rain. I really appreciate it. All right, the next test, and this is also an invasive one, not my favorite, is the hot needle test. If you take a needle, heat it up with a flame, and push it through your amber, it should smell of pine and it may smoke as well. Now, if you do this with copal, it will emit a sweet smell because copal is actually what is used for frankincense, believe it or not. But it should not smoke, and it will have like a very different effect to it as well. And again, I don't love these invasive tests because they're, a little bit damaging. So I like to do the UV test. I like to do this next test, which is the static test. What you can do is you can charge your amber and it should attract hair. So in order to do that, generally you want to rub your amber for at least 20 seconds on a natural material, cotton for example, or cashmere, and then hold it to your hair and it should attract it. Now, copal will do the same thing, but bakelite and glass will not. So this is one very non-invasive test that you can do. Salt water is another one. This one you can't really do out in the wild, but you would be able to do it at home. So if you do receive a piece that you want to check, amber should float. So what you do is you take salt, add it to your water, make it quite saturated. They usually say 2 parts water, 1 part salt, and your amber should float in it. Now keep in mind, if your amber is in a very heavy sterling, backing, it may still sink. So this is a really good test for beads. Salt water won't damage your amber. So if you think about how some of it is actually harvested from the sea, you'll be okay. Just think about the string though that it's on. You'll want to make sure that it has time to dry out very, very completely if you do choose to float your amber. But your amber will indeed float. Your copal will too. Bakelite will not because it's heavier, and glass will not as well. So let's break this all down. Feel free to screenshot this too if you'd like to. When we think about amber, the UV light test, it will glow, and it should glow a yellow-green. It can also glow almost like a blue, as we saw if it's been heat treated, especially with baking. And some of the blue amber is going to also give you a blue reaction. The acetone test should have no impact. The hot needle test should smell like pine, and you may see some smoke. The static test will work, and the saltwater test, it will float. For copal, the UV light test will fail. So this is where I love the UV light test, in that it is something that you can actually do in the wild. So if you're out at an antique mall and you want to be able to test some amber, this is something you can do without harming the piece. You might even be able to do it through a case. I hope you have a strong battery inside your light, but it's something you can easily do. Bakelite should not, and glass, I have put that warning sign there because it may indeed glow if it has uranium or cadmium in it. So that is just something to keep in mind. Now, the acetone test, again, it should not have an impact on amber, but your copal and your bakelite may very well react. Glass will not. Your hot needle, You can do it on copal. It's going to have that same damaging effect and have a different smell to it. So if you're not super familiar with the smell that you should have from amber, which in theory you might be able to do if you heat it up by hand, rubbing it against like your jeans enough, skip this test. Bakelite glass will not. Bakelite may actually have some issues with a hot needle. It shouldn't create shards or crack or anything. But again, a test I wouldn't really want to do. And then glass, no impact. The static test will work for amber and copal. Salt water, the only things that will float are amber and copal. So that is a quick summary of the tests that you can do. Now, it doesn't mean that it will make things super easy for you if you have a black light, but definitely a black light is probably one of the prime tools that I like to have with me when I'm out shopping, looking at a flea market, antique fair, thrift shop, anything like that. I find them to be really quite helpful. So the next thing we're going to do is take a look at a couple of listings. I have one ready to go that I want to share with you because if you look at it, initially it looks like, oh, it's been updated. It says Bakelite Cherry Amber, and this is really important because when you look at this piece, there are a few telltale signs that may help you to understand that it is in fact not true amber. So I'm going to share my screen and we are going to take a look at this eBay listing, which has Bakelite Cherry Amber beaded necklace vintage. It is beautiful. But if we take a look at it, now there's no spangles whatsoever in it. It is extremely uniform in color. And if you take a look, especially around the smaller and larger beads, they are all almost identical. So that is one thing that we can definitely look for. When you are searching, and we will do a search on gem.app, and I'm going to share this tab instead, it's really important to read all of the listing details because you never know what you're going to find. So we will do a couple of searches, but the last thing I want to talk about is this offering of 3 different bracelets. We've got some red amber or cherry amber, we've got the honey, and then we've got the green. And I want you to throw in the comments whether you think that it is likely that these are untreated bracelets or not. Here's the green one. Take a look, there's lots of spangles in it. There's the back, looks like it's been backed as well. They don't have close-ups of the other, but there's red in the middle, which is very rare, less than 0.5% of all amber. And then we've got the honey. So I would love you to take a moment and tell me whether you think that these are untreated. And we'll just give everybody a chance. I see a few comments coming through. Jewelry Jam, hello, says treated. Gina says treated. Andrea says treated. D says treated. Jagar says treated. Monica says treated. Polly says treated. All right. The education has landed. You are 100% right. It is extremely likely that these are treated bracelets because of the number of spangles that are in there, the backing that we saw that is on the green one, the fact that we know that red is very rare and it is a pretty reasonable price as well. All of this, Divine got it too, Calla Lily as well, Polly, Ray. Yes, exactly. It is extremely likely that this is treated. Great job, everybody. I am extremely impressed. All right, let's show the ticker. This is your last chance to get in for the mug giveaway. So if you will kindly type #win all caps, you will be entered for a chance to win our Sundae Brunch mug. And it is a lovely 20-ounce mug, and I will ship it to you free of charge wherever you may be. I'm going to give you about another minute or so to get entered, and then we are going to do the draw. And then I'm going to share with you some of the deals that I was able to find for some offerings of amber online. And there's a couple that I'm particularly excited about because they're better prices than I've ever seen before. I hope they're still available, but we are going to find out. Hello, Brenda. Hello, A Capri, Becky, Kiki, all of you. It is great to see you. Sue's question, does faceted amber elevate the price? It can, yes. Mind you, there's quite a few different factors that you will have to look at. So that includes the workmanship that goes into the piece, and that can be the faceting, for example. And then you also have to think about the size. So if you had a strand like this, which is faceted amber, next to a strand of larger round amber like this, the larger will be generally more expensive than the faceted. That said, I'm not kicking either piece out of bed. They're staying with me. I love them. All right, I see you all entering. I am going to head over to the giveaway tool, and we are going to do this. So let me bring this live. Okay, we have 30 entrants right now. We'll do a countdown of 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I am drawing. Good luck to everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. We will do our live shopping very shortly. And our winner is Timeless Jewel by Deborah. Congratulations. You win the mug. All right. I am going to head back over here. I'm going to turn off the banner at the bottom. We will be doing a giveaway very, very soon for everybody that can't make the live. So if you are watching this as a recording, I will be putting up a post that you can comment on, and we will be doing a mug giveaway on Thanksgiving. So that will be a way that everyone who can't be here for these events has a chance to win as well. All right, let's move into the live shopping. So I'm going to share with you some of the deals that I was able to find. And we will pop into gem.app right now into my saved tab. Okay, let's close this one out and scroll down. All right, this first one. So this is an amber spider that is gold-plated from the 60s. These generally come from Russia. Now, they're actually not spiders. They're more like ants because they have 6 legs and not 9. But I've had, sorry, and not 8. I know how many legs a spider has. This is a beautiful brooch. You can see a little bit of detailing. And I actually had one once and sold it, and I miss it. And believe you me, I paid a pretty penny more than $55 for it. So, and there you can see the Russian signature on it as well. They show you the UV test, so this is what you're looking for in terms of seeing some sort of reaction. And it is available on Etsy at Yellow and Stone, and it is 55 Canadian dollars, and I have a feeling that the exchange rate is still quite preferential to my US friends. So this is the first bargain deal that I wanted to bring to you all because it is a pretty good one. Let me know if you like your critters in the chat. I'm very, very curious. Next up, I thought this was interesting. It is a gilt 12K gold-filled amber pendant. And what I thought was interesting about it was it includes quite a few varieties of color as well as sort of textures. And you've got that raw amber chunk on the bottom. This one is on eBay, and we will go to this tab. There is a buy it now for $125, but you can make an offer. So would strongly suggest you do so. This is being sold by God. That is the seller. They have 100% positive feedback and over 12,000 sales with feedback. So that's pretty good. Here you can take a look at the back. There is a mark which likely says that it's the 12K gold filled. And they say it measures 2 by 2 3/4 inches. So a fairly large piece. And I personally really like it. I think it's quite interesting. to see all of the different varieties like that. So that is my next offering. We will go back over here, and we're going to take a look at this one next on eBay. I'm going to check in and see if there's any chats. Yes, Jagar, I think it's an ant too. Oh, yes. I'm sorry, Gina. This one is an interesting one. It's a beautiful necklace, and they say it is all raw amber, and you've got that large chunk as a pendant that has been offered too. You've got all sorts of different colors and textures, and this is what you would expect to see in that raw Baltic amber. So you've got really inclusions of all kind, and it can be sort of those natural plants or insects as we talked about, but it can also be, dirt or anything else from that period. And what they've done is they've put it together. This one, the buy it now price is $39.75, seems extremely low, which is why I would be happy to take a chance on this. To me, it does not look reconstituted. Again, this one is from Yellow and Stone 661. Gina, you could always buy this and restring it. All right. We are going to go back to gem.app and see what else we've got. This beautiful ring. So this one is available on Etsy, and it is 104 Canadian dollars, which is probably like 70-ish US dollars. We've got two different colors of amber, which are quite beautiful. We've got that cherry color, and then you also have that beautiful kind of butterscotchy egg yolk in it as well. We're going to flip it around. You can see the back is open. I love the contrast between the one opaque one and the other that is not, and it appears to be marked. Let's take a look on Etsy what they say about it. So the seller says that her grandma most likely purchased this on a trip to Russia. It fits size 6.5 to 7, and her asking price is 108 Canadian. Again, probably somewhere around 70 something USD. I am going to go back to gem.app, check in with you all. All right, I see a question. Amber can dry out. Told by friends, elders from Lithuania to rub olive oil on it. Yes, I absolutely have heard of that as well. I've heard that you can rub olive oil, you can rub different types of oil. I would just be very mindful about how much you put on, but it is something that I have also been told to do as well. I haven't tried it yet. Maybe I'll give it a shot and I'll let you know how it goes, and I can add some comments on that. But amber, because it is natural, can indeed dry out, and that is something that is said. Gina says coconut oil. Gina, do you use coconut oil on your amber? I'm curious. Tell us. We do have some care tips too. So after we go through some of the deals, I am going to share you the top care tips because we have not gone through those yet as well. And hello, Mia. Good to see you. All right. From Gina, we have it on good authority that coconut oil is the way to go. And it's delicious. I love to cook with coconut oil. Okay. Next up, we have these earrings. So these are on eBay, and they call them honey amber. To me, they're a little bit more butterscotchy because they're thick. I'm going to share this tab instead. The buy it now price is $29.99. There are studs, and that is a pretty good price if you ask me. The seller is HCOI2992. Seems to be a very new seller, and I suspect that that's part of why the price is so good. We'll take a look. Silverbacks. And what I like to see in the back when they're open like this is some of that like natural look to it. We don't have any way to know for sure if these are reconstituted or not, but they look pretty nice. To me, for $29, I think I might take a chance. Or actually, I encourage one of you to potentially take a chance. That's why I'm showing you. Can't buy everything and keep everything, right? All right. Next up, This is an atomic amber brooch, silver tone, 1960s on Etsy for $52. What I loved about this one is that it is fairly large. So she's got it styled on a hat as well as a hand, and I think the color of it is really quite beautiful. Let's go to Etsy so that we can get the seller name. The seller name is Once Twice Vintage Wear. There are some spangles in this. Let's see if we can get in a little bit closer to those spangles. There we go. And they almost look like they could be organic material. Now, one thing to note, organic material can be added into reconstituted amber. And there are a lot of people who try to do like the addition of insects or lizards or different things because they're so desirable. So keep that in mind if you find something that appears to be too cheap. With this being sort of mid-century, I am hard pressed to say whether it is likely reconstituted or not. To me, it's beautiful, and I would probably take a chance on it because it is quite beautiful. Again, the price is $40 Canadian. That's probably about $30 USD in sterling. Oh, hang on a second. They say silver tone. I don't know if they've tested it. Let's check. Let's check. Silver tone metal. And now we're going to check the back for marks. There. Now, with it being silver tone, maybe it is indeed reconstituted. There's a chance. Let's zoom in a little bit more. There. If you look at the top corner, right up here, I don't love the way that this has been inlaid. It almost looks like there's like an extra piece of resin that perhaps wasn't part of the piece originally. And this is why we must look at all photos. Okay. This one I am taking off my list. Let us return to gem.app. And instead we will look at a ring. This is a size 6 ring. I apologize to anyone that cannot fit it, but for 49 Canadian dollars, I thought this was a reasonable price for a relatively large stone. I'm going to share this tab instead. So the buy it now is $48. Boren 1995 is the seller. Again, 100% positive feedback. And we'll just take a look. So simply bezel set, closed back. Now you can see some of these spangles in here. So may have been heat treated to compress some of the layers of amber, but that doesn't bother me one bit. And that is our next option. Okay, I'm going to pop back into the chat and see if I have missed anything. Hello, everybody. Yes, Jagar, very Jetsons. Callie Lily is asking what you use to polish. Callie, Gina was saying that if you're talking about the amber, coconut oil works really well. And if we're talking about silver, there's some polish pads that I personally love that D2D can tell you a little bit about as well too. Hello, Michelle. Great to see you. Hey, Kathleen. Nice to see you too. All right. I am going to share some care tips and then we will go back to some of the deals. Now, amber is something that you don't have to be overly precious about, but you should be aware that it is only a 2 to 2.5 Mohs hardness on the Mohs hardness scale. So that means that it is susceptible to heat and scratching a little bit more than other pieces. So here's a quick slide of things to keep in mind. First, you want to avoid heat and strong light, and that is because heat and strong light can actually change the color over time of your amber. And this isn't going to happen overnight, but if you have a lighter piece, it can darken it. You also want to avoid chemicals because, again, it is a natural tree resin that has been fossilized. So you want to be a little bit careful with that. Don't steam it. Again, that steam cleaners, they do have a lot of heat and pressure to them, which is not a friend of a tree resin. And then finally, what you can do to care for it is use a damp cloth, warm water. You can even use soapy, sudsy warm water too. That's what I like to do. Oops. Wrong one. That's what I like to do when I'm cleaning this necklace, for example, because I do find that, like, if you wear it in the summer and you sweat during the day, it's nice to give it a quick wipe down before you put away your jewelry. If you do that though and use any damp water, sudsy water, etc., always make sure that your pieces are dry again before you add them back into your jewelry box. So just keep that in mind. Okay. Now I am going to take us back to gem.app because I've got a couple more deals that I think are worth taking a look at. We are going to share this one. So this is another Baltic amber brooch, and this is from a Etsy store, Light Through Stone. And what I like about this one is sort of that raw amber look at the bottom, especially with these little chunks. Now, I do want to go in and get a close look, though, at these inclusions. And then we'll decide if we think it is organic and as expected, or if it looks more like it's been placed. Because as I look at this, I think this is more of a teaching tool one that I wanted to flag. Do you see how there appears to be like very hard edges around that top piece? I'm going to put my little magnifier on it right now. This area here, this to me looks like an old reconstituted piece with perhaps some natural dangles, but definitely old reconstituted. And I bet you if we were to shine a UV light on that too, we would see it light up in a different way. So if you're okay with that kind of look, the price is very fair at $32 from Light Through Stone. But in terms of a teaching tool, I think it's very interesting to be able to see this difference between them. I'm going to flip through the next photos. There we go. Let me know what you think. Do you think that this Baltic amber brooch with dangles is reconstituted in its main stone? I'm very curious. Yes, we do have yes. Everyone agrees. Oh, you should not be able to see me right now. You should just be seeing the amber. And I'm going to zoom back over here. So when we zoom in, see, this is sort of the suspicious areas because you have very hard edges. If you take a look at that sort of 1 o'clock cream colored chunk and then take a look at the others too. Whereas the bottom pieces do just appear to be like straight up cut raw amber. All right, popping back over here. Perfect. All right, there may have been some lag or it may have acted up, but always tell me if you can't see or hear so that we can fix that. Next up, we do have some heat-treated stud earrings on eBay, but I do think that they're pretty nice. So I am going to share this, and the price is not unreasonable at all. Here they are. So these are 46 Canadian dollars, probably 33 US dollars right now. We're going to pop over to eBay. The seller on this one is also born 1995, and they have an offer button available here. That's not a great picture. You can see a lot of spangles, which is part of what makes me think this is heat treated, especially because of the inclusion of the green, but I quite like it. It's very stoplight style, and I think that with this curve, it would fit really nicely. You've got some 925 marks on the nuts, and there they are on the front. So I think that that's a pretty attractive look to it. Now, what's really interesting is that the green is almost guaranteed to be heat treated. You see a lot of spangles in there. The others may not be, and I think that's why we tend to see less spangles in some of the other colors as well. we are going to go back to Gem.app, and I've got one more little ring to show you. This is a little ring from Etsy. The seller is White Birch. It is $32. They say that it is sterling and amber, just a little ball on top. Nice, sweet little twist design to it. So if you're looking for a sweet treat, maybe a stocking stuffer, this could be a great option. They say it is size 6.5 and stamped for 925 on the shank as well. And I kind of love that little swirl. And it appears to give off a great little bit of glow to it. And we'll go back to this one. So that is our last deal of an item for today. Perfect. All right, I'm catching up, and I think I missed a comment because Gina is talking about Formula One car polish being good for more than just a shining up. Is this for like restoring brooches, Gina? Because I have never used Formula One car polish for anything, but I'm intrigued. Love the chat. I'd love to learn new tips from everybody. Okay. Now, what we're going to do next is a live search so that you can see what happens when you look for cherry amber on Gem.app. And this is exactly what I'm talking about when I say kind of keep your eyes out and be mindful. Now that you all know that cherry amber makes up less than 0.5% of all amber that's found in nature, you will know that when you see a lot of it in one place, especially strung on one necklace, you should take a deeper look. So let's go to Gem.app now. And I'm going to get out of my search and share this tab instead. Perfect. Exactly. You find everything but cherry amber. And when you do find the cherry amber, it's like over $1,000. Okay. So here we go. We will start with this one. So this is actually the necklace that we looked at earlier. It is indeed Bakelite Cherry Amber. There we go. This is a very, very sweet brooch and a pretty good price to it as well. I also had this once, sold it, regret it. I really have to stop selling my figural brooches. This is from Ian Drummond Vintage on Etsy. $76 is definitely not bad. It is also going to be a gold-filled one. Okay, so we have cherry shapes. This, I guarantee you, will also be Bakelite. It is. But do notice this one is incredibly similar to the amber strand that I have. So as mentioned, when you do come across a faceted strand, whether it's in that cherry color or if it's in that cognac amber color, it is always worth testing and definitely get out that black light. You may be surprised delightfully. In either way, this is not a terrible price for Bakelite either, in my opinion. So here is another one, faceted Bakelite Cherry Amber. At least they tell us what it is. I do appreciate when sellers tell us what they have and what they think it is. Another Bakelite piece. We will come across some cherry amber soon, I believe, like this one, where they're looking for $1,600 on eBay. Now, for fun, I do think we should take a look at this listing. Here we are. So it is $1,200 US. It says that it has 9-karat gold clasp, graduated beads. Now, I would definitely want assurance to know for sure that it's cherry amber. If it is, I would wonder if it was reconstituted or treated in some way, because it is extremely uniform. And I can't help but think that this looks an awful lot like some of the cherry Bakelite that you can see as well. So call me skeptical if I'm going to be investing money like this on jewelry. Ooh, and that's some dirty nodding too. I want to be 100% sure of what I have. And these are incredibly uniform beads too. So let's go down and read their description. They say it is a genuine Baltic amber necklace. deep cherry, red oval. But they haven't told us how they've tested. So I personally would definitely want to ask questions if I was interested in buying something like this to make sure that it was what it was being purported to be. And you could, for example, ask them to do the saltwater test and send you pictures, do the UV test and send you pictures, and definitely check return policies too, anytime that you're going to be investing a fair amount. Okay, let's keep going. Ooh, this is a cool one. It's Bakelite. I just wanted to show you. I did see it when I was trolling the interwebs yesterday for pieces. It is not inexpensive, but it is absolutely beautifully made. So it is they call it a cherry amber cranberry Bakelite necklace, and it is all faceted and quite beautiful. And another prayer bead style. These are pretty common to come across, and you can generally find them on eBay and on Etsy. And again, this one, they call antique cherry amber, and I definitely would not say that that is cherry in color, and I would want to test it for sure, because you can find Bakelite that looks an awful lot like my necklace. So here's some earrings for $207 that they are saying are cherry amber. And again, I think a good recommendation to sellers who are selling amber is that it is really helpful to buyers if you show like the UV test or anything else that helps us understand that it is in fact what it's being purported to be. These swirls, so this is Bakelite Fatcherin. This is not something that you would generally see in a natural piece that was not reconstituted. You may see these types of lines if it was reconstituted. You will see it in Bakelite or similar products too. So that is definitely something to keep in mind. All right. I am going to pop back into the chat and see what comments I am missing. Hello, everybody. A question from Ray. Going back to the Victorian period, are most amber pieces that are mounted in silver or gold likely to be natural amber? So yes, if you go back before things like Bakelite were available, I would definitely keep your eye out for glass, because there's a lot of amber glass that was used as part of like the arts and crafts movement and in the Art Nouveau period as well. Sometimes you see those wonderful sash pins and they have like beautiful amber glass in them. So that would be an example. But if you find amber that is set into a piece, I think that you've got a pretty good chance that it truly is amber. There's a possibility that it could be copal that is younger, because it's possible that it was mined somewhere where people didn't really understand the difference, and it might not be something that they were trying to do nefariously. But if you go back and you find some of these like Victorian or like arts and craft pieces from Scandinavia, especially, or Baltic countries, it's a very, very good chance that it is indeed going to be amber. Michelle says, that's the real deal, Holyfield. Yes, it really is. All right. Are there any requests for me to search for anything today? I do want to let you know what the next Sundae brunch is going to be. So in terms of announcements, one, we will have the giveaway for everyone for a mug that will be posted and draw done on Thanksgiving, US Thanksgiving that is, because Canadian Thanksgiving has long passed. Number two, we do have our next Extra Scoop Live that is scheduled for December 3rd at 4 p.m. PST, 7 p.m. EST for Extra Scoop members. And if you're interested in learning more about that, there are details in the overview description of the video, and there's a join button on YouTube, as well as Patreon/sundaebaubles. And the next Sundae brunch, I was going to go Victorian, but we're going to do a pit stop first, and we are going to go into the retro era. show you the rings I'm wearing. Retro era, so 1940s or so, and we are going to talk about both fine and costume jewelry of that period before we take a step back into the Victorian period and then Russian Imperial. Futurian. So Futurian is, I believe, another sort of plastic-like substitute like bakelite that was used around the Art Deco period. And I'm going to do a quick lookup of that to see. They believe that it was made of natural resins, including, interesting, frankincense, colophony, turpentine, and that was used by melting down all sorts of filings from carving beads from amber. So it sounds like it's a mix of what could potentially be both natural as well as synthetic materials. Ooh, Bernard Instone brooches. That is a great question, Ray. I have not quite a few, a small handful, and I've seen them with like citrine as well as chrysoprase and amethyst and agates and carnelians, but I have not seen them with amber. That does not mean that he wouldn't have used it, because he tended to go for like the best quality materials that he could find, and of course there was plenty of amber that was available and kind of within his reach. So good question. I will do some research to see if I can find some examples of Bernard Instone with amber. I'm making a note for myself. All right. Let's see. Did I miss anything? I did not. Hello, Judy. Hope you are doing great. We are just wrapping up for today. Ooh, Etruscan style gold or sterling fobs. Yes, I can definitely do that. We will do that as a live shop right now, and then we will close for the day. So let me share my screen. We're going to go back to gem.app, and we will look for Etruscan fobs. So you said gold or sterling. I'm going to pop into this one. That's a mid-century revival. I don't know if you want it revival or true period. So let's just keep looking for a little bit and see what we can find. There's an interesting one from the Crow Tray on Etsy. I am going to pop in there right now. Okay. They say the larger orb has a turquoise bead. It is brass, so not silver. What drew my eye was this detail, which is quite beautiful, but that is not what you're looking for because it's in brass. It is $67, again, at the Crow Tray, but we are going to go back to gem.app and see if we can find something that is more specific to what you're looking for. Now, this looks like it's going to be gold-filled at best. I'm going to quickly pop in. The seller is Auntie Nell's Attic. No sales yet. A little bit difficult to see the details with these photos, but at best, that's going to be gold-filled. Let me know if you're looking for like solid gold or if you are looking for gold-filled. I'm going to go back here, pop into the chat real quick, and we will keep going. Okay, in terms of fobs. Now, when I think of fob, I'm thinking like sort of that shortened watch fob chain. Let me know if you have something kind of different in mind, because these are kind of single fobs. If you want just the fob, we can definitely look for that as well. But I've single-mindedly started looking for literally something that looks like this with an attachment as well. Ah, you saw some at Jewelry Show. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Judy. It is great to see you. Okay, well then let's dive in and we will take a look at some. Let's click here. So this is a rose gold locket style fob. It's quite interesting. Here we go. Okay, so when I think sort of watch fob, this is kind of what comes to mind for me. And it's having like that long attachment where you've got that fob on the end. This is an example available on Ruby Lane, 14 karat gold. We are going to pop in. So $9.95 USD. Love the detail on this. So you've got the granulation, which is kind of that Etruscan style, as well as the balls, and yet it looks ultra modern too, with like the coil design. Quite an interesting look to it. There we go. Try to get that centered so that we can all see it. And I am going to scroll down. They say the clasp is stamped 14K, the rest of the pendant tests for 14K, total weight is 9.5 grams. That's a pretty good example. Hello, Robin. Great to see you. Here is another example of just the fob with some turquoise in it. Marble Vintage on Etsy. This is not inexpensive, but incredibly detailed. Again, we've got that same granulation and detail, almost like that rope detail. So that's what we're looking for when we talk about Etruscan style. And it can have some engraving and floral details too. And sometimes you do see these kind of like sawtooth pushed over, call it style settings too. This is a pretty big piece. So from Marble Vintage, also a pretty penny. I like this one on eBay. Not cheap, 18 karat gold. They say 3D green agate Etruscan pendant. Is there just the one photo? There's just the one photo. I'll tell you who the seller is, just in case. It is Garden of Jewels with 100% positive feedback and 3,000 sales. But here you can see, again, that same beautiful rope detail, little ball details too. Lots of twists and nice stones. I would want to see more details though to understand, like, what is this mark? Is it just a reflection? Probably just the camera reflection, but definitely something worth digging into, because if it's 18 karat gold, it really shouldn't have marks like this on it. And I see a request to look for bright yellow swirl piece that I said was bakelite. Okay, yep. I will try to find that. It's not always easy to go right back to where you were. Another expensive gold one. Let's find a silver one. Here we go. So this is an 800 silver ornate fob, and this one's on eBay as well. So let's pop over to eBay. So purple faceted glass. And again, you can see the same details on the gold ones that we were looking at in this 800 silver. What I do like to do when I'm looking at these Etruscan pieces is take a look to make sure that the detail wire work is all present. So just take a look at the photos from all angles that we've been given. And there should be 4 of these little scallops on each side, and then 4 of these little dotted beads. That's a pretty nice looking fob. And I'm just going back to check the bottom. From what I can see in the pictures, this one looks pretty good. So Ancient Mom 4412 sales with positive feedback, looking for $59.95 for this lovely Etruscan fob. Not a terrible choice. Let's find another deal. This one's interesting. It's kind of urn-like. They say urn or vase, made in Italy, Etruscan revival. So yeah, I had a feeling this one was more modern because it feels more molded than kind of handcrafted, if you know what I mean. That one is on Ruby Lane. Similarly, this one feels a little bit more molded, just from the top pieces. And the wire work, it doesn't have that kind of same effect where it's like truly strung on. Okay. We will do one more fob. Let's find a either spectacular silver or spectacular gold one. I like this one. Let's click on it. It's probably because the garnets stand out to me. Magpie Antique on Etsy. We're going to take a look. Okay, so this one is 1,300 Canadian dollars, probably right around $1,000. We'll play the video. Reliquary citrine on the bottom and some garnets around the top. And we'll take a look at the details. So what I love most about these old handcrafted antique pieces are just the amount of workmanship that goes into it. So you've got that rope detail around the bottom where the citrine is, and almost like that cookie cutter look. You can see the wire work that has been applied actually looks like individual wires with the ball on top and not molded like we were seeing on some of those silver ones. There's that bottom again. And again, if I was considering to buy this, I would be counting literally all of the balls, looking at all of the ropes, making sure that everything was fully present. But this piece is a gooder. All right, I am going to go back and try to find that swirly piece. We were looking at cherry bakelite. No, just cherry amber, actually. Cherry amber. And we were looking for a swirly piece. I believe it had some reds and yellows and was a little bit of a stumpy looking bead. There's that ring. Again, these dangly cherries are a very popular motif. Quite beautiful. A lot of them do come from the Baltic region. Ooh, I like these cherries. So these are some of the more pronounced cherries that I've ever seen. Sorry, we're taking a pit stop. This one is available on eBay. I'll quickly share this tab. It is So Sweet Patty, 98.8% positive feedback, so I might take a look at why. But looking for $75 on these. And I just really like the form of them. Okay, we will go back to find that yellow-red swirl. This is the joy with Gem.app. As things are added, it shifts the layout. Hopefully I have not zoomed past it. But I do encourage you, if you are ever looking for a piece of jewelry or like a specific type of jewelry, or if you want to try and price something and see what other people are asking right now, do check out gem.app because it does aggregate everything from eBay, Ruby Lane, Etsy, as well as some other websites too. And if you are a shop owner that has a website that is hosted on a Shopify store, reach out to them and ask them to index your site so that you can also be included. I know this is Bakelite, but it is beautiful. All right. This is an interesting one too. Just got to click on it. So really interesting carved Bakelite and, well, both Bakelite green as well as that cherry Bakelite brooch. Okay. I am not finding that bead that we were looking at before, but I will look up Futurian because I have a feeling that it was that same listing that we were looking at. This one. Okay, let me know in the chat if this is the one that you were referring to. Yes, Polly, isn't it great? Okay, KJ, please confirm if what we are looking at right now is the one that you were referring to. So, yay, okay, perfect. So this one, they are actually the ones that are saying Bakelite. In their description, they say antique cherry amber Fatcherin Bakelite amber silver bead necklace. So I am going to actually click into the listing so that we can take a look at the whole necklace because there must be something more going on to it. So 800 USD. It looks like there are just similar beads and silver that have been strung. And so I have a feeling that the seller may have just listed everything that it could possibly be, from cherry amber, Fatcherin Bakelite amber, blah, 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 because they're not sure what it is. And we're going to read the description to see if they are more specific. No. Old cherry amber Bakelite Fatcherin loose prayer bead necklace. There are 3 large Bakelite beads tested with simichrome polish. Okay, so now we have it. They are using a whole bunch of keywords to make sure that their listing is going to show up to anybody that might be looking for something like this. And at least they have confirmed for us that they have indeed tested it with simichrome. It is Bakelite, which is very interesting. So Bakelite is not the same as Fatcherin from what I just read. Fatcherin apparently should be used as the proper name if you are using basically a combination of amber resins, so like remnants of beads that you carved, as well as some other substances that are added to it in order to form a new bead. And that is what I just found out. And this came from Wikipedia, which I'm going to share right now so that we can take a look at it together. Here we go. So, Fatcherin, which I keep calling Faturian. It is a Middle Eastern beadwork material used to make beads, notably in the making of 2 specific beads that I don't want to butcher. It's thought to have originated by a chemist. He was melting down the filings left after carving beads from amber and mixed them with other natural resins and then lost it. And it became a brand of cast thermosetting of essentially similar to Bakelite, some other things too. So it is both natural and synthetic, apparently. And it looks like this is something that is thought to have been done quite early on in the 18th or 19th centuries, but there's dispute. So I don't know that we're going to get an answer here, but maybe more of a mystery. However, I will say it does look like this. However, that person whose listing we were just looking at, did tell us that they had tested the beads, and they do test for bakelite with simichrome. So that would not be it. Huh. And now we know. Great question. Thank you so much for asking. All right, I'm going to scroll up, make sure I didn't miss anything. Infinite Cord Productions. You have some lightweight beads that is cherry red, but you don't know if it's bakelite or amber. Well, let me quickly throw up the slide that will tell you what you can do to test to know if it's bakelite or amber. Here we go. If you do a UV light test and it is amber, it should definitely glow. Now, there are invasive tests you can do, which are the acetone and hot needle tests. I would probably avoid those. If you put a hot needle into amber, it should smell like pine and possibly smoke, but it is invasive and can damage your piece, so I wouldn't do that. If you rub amber on a natural material like cotton for at least 20 seconds vigorously so that it creates like static electricity, it should draw or attract your hair. And then lastly, if it is amber, you should be able to float it in salt water. So I would say that if you use those to test Infinite Cord Productions, you will be able to figure out if it is bakelite or amber. Hopefully that helps a little bit. There we go. So the light turned it bright yellow. So with amber, it can turn like a yellow green. With the yellow, like egg yolk yellow amber, it is going to turn like quite a bright yellow. It can go like a bluey green as well. And then with blue amber, it generally goes blue. As we saw though, some heat treatments do make it go blue instead. So I'm just going to flip back to that slide for a quick second. We've got this example, which is my faceted amber. When it is under black light, it goes that yellow-green. So this is one example. That's a good sign, Infinite Cord. And then the other one that we looked at in terms of an example with UV light was a bracelet that was treated by baking, and this was done to improve its clarity. So let's take a look at it. This is the bracelet. It's kind of a yellow honey amber color. It already has some sun spangles in it, and then under UV light it actually goes kind of more of a greenish bluish, which was really unusual. This bracelet was actually sent to the GIA, and I found this photo and this example specifically from their listings. So hopefully that helps a little bit too. My pleasure, Michelle. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to scroll back up and see if I missed anything else. Judy, you want research on hats? Well, that might be a whole different array of things, but yes, maybe I will share. I've been delving a little bit into like costume history, meaning the full garment of a dress as well as accessories that women have worn. So when I have learned enough myself, maybe I will cover hats too. All right, I am catching up. Did I miss anything? I think I'm all caught up. All right, everybody. Well, thank you very much for being here today. It has been a blast as always. We have gone through Amber, and I will do my promised homework of adding a few more links so that you've got a few more resources in here. And if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me at sundaebaubles@gmail.com. I hope everybody has a wonderful long weekend and had a meaningful Remembrance Day or Veterans Day as well. And we will see each other again very soon. Remember, in 2 weeks, we will be talking about retro jewelry from the 1940s, both fine and costume. And then we will be talking about Imperial Russian jewelry very shortly after that. And our next Extra Scoop Sunday Brunch is December 3rd at 4 p.m. PST. I hope everybody has a great rest of your Sunday wherever you are. It's been my absolute pleasure. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.